Hello everyone. In this lesson, we're going to be setting up our server, or another name for it is our back end. Now right away, when you hear that phrase, our server, you might think that it's going to live out on the internet somewhere. In reality, servers do live out on the internet. They don't live on your personal computer. However, we are not ready to launch our application live to the world. We haven't even started building our application yet. So at this point, we want to stay on our personal private computer. We want a sandbox. And so we're going to begin this lesson by answering this question really quick. What is a local dev environment? As a web developer, this is a phrase you're going to hear over and over again, your local dev environment. And what this means is just a personal private sandbox on your computer that acts like a server or simulates a server. It essentially is a server, but it's private to just you. It's not out on the internet. You are the only one that can visit that sort of, I guess you could call it a fake server that's just on your computer. So how do we get started? How do we set up a local dev environment on your computer for free? Well, because we're using PHP, it might be tempting to visit the official PHP website, right? That's the language that in the previous lesson we said we're going to use for this course. And while that's technically possible, you could manually download PHP and set it up. That's going to require a good amount of technical knowledge. So instead, there are many different packages that will do all of the heavy lifting for us. There's no right or wrong answer in terms of which tool to use, but my official recommendation and the official path of this course, so that you can follow along with me step by step, is a tool called Local. So the official website is localwp.com. Now, technically, this is a tool for setting up WordPress websites locally as a, local development environment. And just to be clear, we are not, 100% we are not using WordPress in this course. However, WordPress is incredibly popular and it uses PHP as its back-end language. So we can use this free tool to our advantage. In just a couple of clicks, we will have a PHP local dev environment. It will help us create fake local domains. So for example, like your project could be called like myapp.local instead of myapp.com. In other words, this tool will set up everything on our personal private computer for free so that we have a local dev environment. It's very easy to use. I've been using it for many years and I recommend it for all of my students. So right now, go ahead and pause this video lesson and get LocalWP downloaded and installed on your computer. It's freely available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So from this point in the video moving forward, I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, you have successfully installed the local app on your computer. When you open it, it will look something like this. It might not look exactly like this the very first time you launch it or open it. But once you get through the introduction screens, it should look something like this. So you'll see a list of sites here. Now, you just installed it, so you don't have any existing sites. What you want to do right now is create one. It's falling off the bottom left corner of my screen recording right now, but in the bottom left corner of your local app, you'll see a plus symbol. When you hover over it, it should say add local site or something along those lines. Just look for a plus symbol to create a new site. Perfect. So when you click on this, we see this option. Let's go ahead and use this default option to create a new site. In the bottom right corner, you can click continue. Let's give it a name. You can name it anything you want, but why don't we call it our app? Let's click continue in the bottom right corner. From this screen, we do want to be sure to click on custom instead of the preferred option. So when you click on custom here, let's walk through these one by one. So for PHP version, you do not need to use the exact same version that I'm going to use. As you scroll through this list, you'll see one that does not have the little download arrow next to it. So for example, for me, that's 8.3.0. You don't need to choose 8.3.0. As you're watching this video, a newer, slightly newer version might be the one that's already downloaded. So don't get stuck here. The exact version doesn't matter. I would just choose whichever one doesn't have a download icon next to it and choose the most recent version, or like the largest number that doesn't have a download arrow next to it. Now for web server, this is important. We have a couple of options here. We have Nginx and Apache. In the real world, if you were getting tons and tons of traffic, Nginx can offer a bit more performance, like bang for your buck. But because we're just getting started, I think Apache is definitely the right choice here. It's very simple. It's very basic. I realize we don't even know what these two different things mean right now, but I'm just letting you know also a lot of the most basic and affordable web hosts that you want to work with towards the end of this course when you actually want to launch your application live in public. A lot of those basic hosts and super affordable hosts, they will use Apache, not Nginx. I guess you could think of it like Nginx is more for power users or for more premium hosting experiences, and Apache is the good old traditional, standard, affordable environment or server. So let's go with Apache. Perfect. Now for database, let's just choose whichever is the newest MySQL version that doesn't have an arrow next to it. Perfect. And then click Continue in the bottom right corner. Now this absolutely doesn't matter, this screen, because we are not using WordPress in this course at all, but this software thinks that you might want to set up WordPress. So just give it a fake admin username, and you could even choose a password of admin. Again, this does not matter, we are not using this feature, so then just click Add Site in the bottom right corner. Great, so now in the background, local WP is doing all of the heavy lifting for us. It's getting this ready. If it asks you for your personal computer password that is completely safe and trusted, go ahead and enter it. It's only needing to ask you that because it's creating a fake local domain. So go ahead and enter your password and click OK or Continue. And then from here, it should take maybe a minute at the total max. Perfect, so mine has finished. And now here's what you can do. Right here, you can click the title of your site, and that will open it in the browser. Or you could click the three dots and click Open Site, or this button right here, Open Site. Whenever you click any of those things to open the site, it will take you to, and you can see in the address bar, ourapp.local. So it looks like a real website in your address bar, but this is not a real website. You and I are the only ones that can visit this, or because it's your private computer, you're the only one that can view your site. So you absolutely cannot share this address. Like if you copy and paste this address to a friend or family member and they try to visit it, they will not see your application. Now don't worry, at the end of this course, we will learn, once we've actually built something, how to publish it live to the internet so that you can share it with your friends and family. But for now, rest assured this is your safe, completely private local sandbox. This is our local dev environment. Now, currently, the website you're seeing here is using WordPress. We don't want to use WordPress. This is not a course about WordPress. We want to use just real vanilla PHP, right? We're going to have AI build a real application for us from scratch. So all you need to do right now, let me show you how easy it is to just completely wipe out this WordPress website so that we have a beautiful empty canvas to start working in. Back in your local app or local program, right below the title of your site, you'll see this site folder icon. Go ahead and click on site folder. When you do that, it'll open up your file explorer. And here we see I'm in the folder called Our App, and I have these subfolders of app, conf for config, and logs. We're interested in the app folder. So go into the app folder. In there, you'll see a folder called public. Dig into the public folder. And these are the WordPress files. So do this. If you click on just one file, and it doesn't matter which one, but just make sure your cursor is selected in your file area. And now on Windows, press Control A, and that will select all the files. Or on Mac, you would press Command A on your keyboard, and then just delete everything in this folder. So right click, click delete, move to recycle bin or move to trash, just whether you're using Windows, Mac, or Linux, just delete those files in the public folder. So now you can see my public folder is completely empty. Beautiful. Now if I refresh in the browser, we're going to see some sort of error message, right? It's like index of, it's because there's no files now. Beautiful. That's what we want to see. So now you and I can start building our own website from scratch like a professional. Like a real developer. Now, we're going to use AI so that we don't need to memorize code right away, but you and I are starting with a completely blank canvas. And for our final task in this lesson, let's create just a basic welcome page that says, welcome to our application, and then maybe we could have a link that takes you to the register page to sign up for a new account. We don't need to build any of that functionality in this lesson. Let's keep things simple, but let's just set up a basic welcome screen. So what we need to do is open up this public folder with VS Code. So you could just click back in your file explorer, but let me show you how to get there for sure. Back in the local app, again, you're just going to click Site Folder below your site title. That opens up this screen where you can see app, conf, and logs. Go into app. Okay, now here's the important part. This is the public folder. That's what you want to open up in VS Code. So this is what you would drag and drop on top of your VS Code window or VS Code in your dock. When you open it up, you'll see this screen. Do you trust the authors of the files in this folder? I'm just going to click yes, trust the authors of all files in the parent folder, and click yes, I trust the authors. Perfect. So now we've opened up that public folder with VS Code. It's completely empty. Now let's just have an AI agent set something up for us. So again, this is how you toggle the right-hand AI area. And let's just say create an index.php. So notice we're not saying index.html. We're saying index.php. So that way this file will have access to server-side or PHP or back-end functionality. PHP is our back-end server language. So create an index.php file that welcomes the user to our site, and below that has a quotes sign up link that takes the user to register.php. Let's say period, new sentence, create register.php for me as well, but leave it blank with just a headline that says hello. And now just for something fun, this has nothing to do with the app we're building, but just to show you the nature of PHP, let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's say in index.php, when you are welcoming the user, be sure to mention the day of the week that it is. For example, like Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and press enter and see what that gives us. Okay, so it looks like it's finished. Now, if we go back to the browser and refresh, cool, we see welcome to our site, happy Thursday, or whatever day it is that you're viewing this lesson. We see a link for sign up. If I click it, cool, it takes us to register.php and we just see hello. Now, why in the world did I have, if I click back really quick, why in the world did I have us output the day of the week? It's to show you really quick the nature of front end and back end. So if on your website you right click and choose View Page Source, you'll definitely see this option if you're using Google Chrome. If you're using Safari, you might need to go into the settings and enable this feature. So I recommend throughout this course you use Google Chrome as your web browser. But if we view Page Source, what I'm trying to show you here is that the end user of your website, they just see the word Thursday. That is what our server is sending to the client or the web browser. However, if you look at your code in index.php, we see a paragraph that says happy, and then you don't need to understand this code for now, but server side, this code is finding the dynamic day of the week. The point here is that the web browser is not having to calculate the name of the day of the week. The server is doing that. So this is how simple it is with PHP to do something on the server side, process that, figure that out, and then send this overall blob of HTML that is dynamic, right? This value is dynamic. Send that back to the client as the response. So a request comes in, the server can do something dynamic and send that as the response. Beautiful. At this point, our progress is going to skyrocket. We can now move much more quickly than we have in the last 3 or 4 lessons because now we have everything we need. Our browser is the front end and our PHP local environment is our back end. At this point, we can have our AI agent complete both front end and back end tasks for us. So put on your seatbelt, get ready. From here, we are going to start building our real application together. Let's keep things rolling and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hello everyone. This is a quick video, not a true lesson, where I just want to talk about vocabulary, building our vocabulary throughout this course. Throughout the course, as we build an entire application just by writing prompts, we're going to use a lot of terminology. We're going to cover so many new concepts, and I realize there's a lot of room to feel overwhelmed. And while I will try to explain most of the concepts, there are still going to be a lot of concepts that we don't dive into. So here's my advice. Here's how I think you can have the best possible learning experience. Whenever we're working through a lesson and you see me use a phrase that you're not familiar with, I recommend waiting 1 or 2 or 3 lessons to see if I explain it in the next couple of lessons. And if I don't, here's what I recommend. Keep a running text file on your desktop or somewhere on your computer, and anytime you hear me use a phrase that you're not familiar with, just write it down. So phrase 1, phrase 2, just keep a running list, keep a note file, and this way you can circle back to it every few lessons. There's a good chance that in a few lessons in the future I explain what that phrase or that concept means, but again, I'm not going to be able to explain every single concept in this course. We want to keep it easy to digest and easy to make progress. And if we get bogged down with every single concept, this would become a 10,000 hour course. Anyways, as you build your list of different concepts and phrases, you're building your vocabulary. If there's a concept that I do not cover in the next lesson or two and you're still wanting to understand it, well, this is where, in my opinion, AI is the greatest learning tool ever to exist. Now, I'm not saying that's the way that AI has necessarily been marketed or that we've been encouraged to use it as, but I think that's how you can use it. Now, instead of asking the AI agent, you absolutely could ask the AI agent in VS Code questions, but that is going to count towards your monthly quota of GitHub Copilot. So instead, what I do is if I'm just trying to build my vocabulary and understand something, take full advantage of the free tier of ChatGPT, the free tier of Google Gemini, and the free tier of Claude. You don't need to enter a credit card or spend a single penny or dollar, and you have access to all of these amazing tools. So as you're building your list of terminology, if after a few lessons we haven't circled back and there's this phrase that you still are unsure what it means, just ask one of these great AI chat tools. Say, hey, I'm working through a web development course and tutorial and I heard this phrase. What does this mean? Please explain this to me in an easy to digest format. Cool. This way you guarantee that by the end of this course, you have learned all of the foundational concepts of web development and you're not confused about anything. I'm going to do my best to explain as many different concepts as I can, but web development is an incredibly deep field. No one can understand or know everything, and you definitely don't need to. But building your vocabulary, having at least a general idea of what a term means, chef's kiss, that's invaluable to your career. Cool. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all the different vocabulary, that's okay. Just keep a running notes file. I promise you're going to be A-okay. Let's keep things rolling, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hello, everyone. In this lesson, we're going to be working on our user registration form. For now, don't worry about the word validating that we see on the screen right here. Just know that in this lesson, we want to start working on the user's ability to submit because we want a username, their email address, and for them to make up a password. So let's start working on this feature. Now, remember, your local website will not be up and running unless you've started it in local WP, the local app. So in our previous lesson, we learned that the app looks something like this. Now, in the top right corner, once you've selected the project you're interested in this menu, over here you can start and stop your site. So right now, I can't access my site because it's stopped. So all you would need to do is click Start It. And then once it's started, remember you can always use this link or this link to visit it in your browser. So now when I refresh, perfect. Now, to refresh your memory on where our files are so that you can have VS Code open to the correct location, let me refresh your memory. From the local app, you can click Site Folder here, right below your title right here. Go into App, and then this public folder. Just open up that entire public folder in VS Code. Here's my VS Code picking up from our previous lesson, and we're interested in register.php. Currently, it just contains the word hello. So if in the browser, I click on sign up, that takes me to register.php. So instead of saying hello, we would want a form so that in the user's browser, they can click into the fields and make up a username, type in their email, and make up a password, and then submit the form to us. Now, in this lesson, let's not worry about doing anything useful with those values. We don't need to save them permanently anywhere. That can come in the next lesson. In this lesson, let's just worry about making sure that the values they give us make sense. For example, like a username needs to be at least 3 characters long, and it can only contain like the letters A through Z and numbers 0 through 9, like no special characters, no punctuation marks. Let's make sure that their email address is at least like a bit of text, and then the @ symbol, and then another bit of text. And let's make sure their password is at least 12 characters long. That's what validating the data means. So if the user submits all three values and it meets all of our rules and our criteria, we can display a message that says, thank you. But if there's a problem with one of their fields, we will not say thank you, and instead we will ask them to fill out the form again. Perfect. So let's set that up. So over in the right-hand chat menu, let's do this. Here's what I would say. In register.php, remove the headline that says hello, and instead have a form with fields of username, email, and password. Now here's the important part. I'm going to tell the AI agent to use server-side validation so that this way a malicious user can't get around these rules because they're executing on our server. The logic that's making sure that these conditions are met is running on our server side, and so there's nothing that any malicious user in the world can do to bypass this. So I would just say, use server-side validation to make sure that the username is at least 3 characters long and no longer than 12 characters. Also make sure the username can only contain A through Z letters and 0 through 9 numbers. Please make sure the email is a valid email format, and please make sure the password is at least 12 characters long. In addition to enforcing these validation rules, please also sanitize the user's input, and if there are no validation errors, show the user a thank you message. But if there are any validation errors, let them know which fields have problems. Okay, let's see what that gives us. I'm going to press enter and let that work in the background, or let the agent work right here. I can't imagine it will take more than maybe 15-20 seconds. Okay, it looks like it finished for me. Let me go back to the browser and refresh, or visit register.php. Okay, right away, I don't like that the agent added a bit of styling for me. I want to add styling on my own later because now you and I, our forms are not going to look the same because the random nature of AI means that yours will look different than mine. But let's just test out the functionality. So let me try to create an error on purpose. Like if my username is just the letter B, but I will include correct or valid values for the other 2 fields. Let me click sign up. Aha. So this is why I wanted to walk through this with you. So this is using client-side validation, this little pop-up message that we see right here, and a malicious user could very easily disable that. Right now, let's pretend that we are a malicious user. Just right-click anywhere in the empty part of your page and click Inspect. This tool should pop up, and actually to make this easier, right-click on the username field, and in that pop-up choose Inspect. So this input element, that is the username field that the user types into. But if we were a malicious user, we could go into our browser's tools like this and double click where it says min length and hit backspace or delete and delete the =3 as well. And then where it says pattern, you could just double click on pattern, delete the word pattern, delete the equals quotes, and then this value, press enter. And now, before I hit submit, I just want to be clear here. Client-side validation like this is amazing because it provides real users or innocent users with really helpful inline real-time validation messages like, hey, you forgot to fix this. And that's great. So you want to leave them in place. I'm just showing you how we can't actually rely on it. Regardless of whether you have client-side validation, you must always, 100% of the time, have server-side validation. Because now that I was pretending to be a malicious user and I adjusted that field, now I can click sign up and my browser lets me send that request to the server. Luckily for us, though, we have server-side validation, so we see this message. Please fix the following issues. Beautiful. Username must be 3 to 12 characters long. So long story short, leave the client-side validation in place, right? Like in your register.php, if you find your input, leave the min length and max length and pattern, leave that in place, but just know that that's not actually protecting you. That's just providing your innocent users with a better user experience. For your security and your protection, you must have server-side, or in our case, PHP level validation. And that's what all of this code towards the top of my file is doing. Now let's practice sending a successful request with 0 errors. So all of my fields make sense. I'll click sign up. Beautiful. We see this nice thank you for signing up message. Now this is fake. This is imaginary. It's not actually signing the user up for anything. It's literally just showing them this thank you message. In our next lesson, we can worry about actually storing the information that the user just gave us. However, for the short remainder of this video lesson, I want to talk about styling or design. So AI can be very random, or I shouldn't say can be. It is very random. And your styling is going to look way different than mine. Like if I go back to my homepage, the AI agent might have added styling to your homepage. Or when I click on sign up, the register page, your styling might not look anything like this, like how it made my button, wide and green, and it made my fields wide with a light gray border. You could have completely different styling that your AI set up for you. So you are free to leave that styling in place if your AI gave you a bit of styling. That's completely up to you, but just to make this course easy to follow along with, I think it makes sense if I, as the instructor, tell my AI to not add any styling. That way, in a later chapter in the course, we can worry about how to use AI to style and design things for us. So it's completely up to you. You don't need to do this step. If you want to keep your styling that you have, you can, but I'm going to say in my AI agent area here, that is perfect. However, please remove all styling completely. I just want vanilla unstyled HTML. Period. Enter. Let's see what that does. Okay, it looks like it finished. So if I go back and refresh my registration page, now you might be wondering, why did I do this? This looks objectively worse. And I would agree, it does look worse. But this way you and I are working on the same page, and we've removed as much of the randomness from AI as possible. This way we all sort of have the default empty canvas, just plain HTML elements, and in later chapters, you and I can build the styling with AI prompts together. But again, if you don't want to do that, that's completely fine. You can let AI add a bit of styling to your app throughout the course. There is no right or wrong approach. I just feel like this would be the easiest to follow along with. Beautiful. Now, in our next lesson, let's worry about actually doing something or storing the data that the user gives to us instead of just showing this fake thank you message. Let's keep our momentum rolling, and I'll see you then.